Go ahead and call the meeting to order. I think we start with the roll call.
Dr. BESE.
Here.
Mr. Castile.
Here.
Dr. Davis.
Here.
Ms. Ellis.
Here.
Mr. Garvey.
Here.
Ms. Holloway.
Here.
Mr. Mellering.
Here.
Mr. Morris.
Here.
Ms. Orange Jones.
Here.
Mr. Rock.
Here.
Ms. Boucher. We have a quorum.
Okay. The next item is the invocation and the pledge. Today, we're going to have assisting us Pastor Jacob Aranza with the prayer, and with the pledge, we're going to have Tia Trahan helping us with that. Go ahead and read the prayer, please.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we are so incredibly grateful for our state. And we're thankful that it's because you love us that you've given us people that want to love and serve our state. We ask your blessings upon this ceremony today, that you would be honored. And most of all, we would remember all power, authority comes from your hand. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is consideration of the oath of office for the 2023 officers administered by Pastor Jacob Aranza.
Aranza?
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Lord, I was going to say Pastor Jacob.
We have the officers, I think, move down to the front for the swearing in.
Go ahead and come through.
Sorry.
So our officers are Dr. Holly Bovee as president, Mr. Preston Castile as vice president, and Mr. Bonnie Morris as secretary treasurer.
You raise your right hand and then you repeat, state your name, please. I
I, Preston Castile,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will
the
support
Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all these duties
all these duties
incumbent upon me
incumbent upon me
as a
as a
member of the BESE Board, according to the best
according to the best
of my ability
of my ability
and understanding,
and understanding,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Shannon, you have the document for them to sign?
Thank you all so much. Pastor Jacob, thank you for being here to swear us in, and it truly means a lot. We have some friends and family here. I really want to thank everybody who was able to show up for today, and looking forward to taking a lot of pictures and celebrating after we get our official business taken care of. But I also just want to thank the board for your support. I'm looking forward to a great year. So yesterday we voted on an MFP that will formalize today. And it's going to take all of us. There are a lot of interest in the state for the state's resources, but I believe our students are the most important resource we have in the state. And the most impactful way to influence our students is through our teachers who are in the classroom. And so I think working together and helping to get that $257 million in pay raises to our classrooms is really going to be a difference maker. Connected to that, though, unfortunately, there are about 30,000 students in this state who do not have a teacher right now. So there are 1,203 vacancies in our state. That's down from 2,500 last year. That's remarkable progress. And at this rate, we can get it to 0 before August. That's what I said. At this rate, we can get it to 0 before August. So I don't know how many people are in the room. I'm not even going to estimate. But what I'll say is, if every one of us in this room go out and find 10 teachers, then our children can have one of the most important relationships in their lives. And so a lot of us have studied trauma and adverse childhood experiences. The way to counteract those adverse childhood experiences is through a supportive, caring adult. And it really does just take one. So my ask and request of each person in this room is to go out and find 10 people who maybe had it on their heart to be a teacher, and let them know that while there's a whole lot out there in terms of what it means to be a teacher, that every day being in front of kids in the classroom is a tremendous opportunity to impact the future, and our students need great teachers who will love them first and who will work very hard to help them set very high goals and help them work towards their goals. So a lot's changed in the last 11 years and 2 months that I've been on this board. When I think about it, the changes in technology, I mean, our world has just changed so much in the time that I've been on this board. And I'd like to use these last 10 months to do everything we can to bring a teacher to all of our children. Our children deserve great teachers. They need those relationships. Pastor Jacob talks about the local church being the hope of the community, and I certainly agree with that, Pastor. But some of our kids don't get into churches. All of our kids get into public schools. And so that is an opportunity to bring a relationship and people to our children to truly make a difference in their lives. So again, I'm going to ask you to help us get that number to 0. For everything people say about being educators, and it's unfortunate what's out there, I think one of the most important lessons of my life were my grandparents who were educators. So my grandfather was a teacher, a principal, coach, and a superintendent of a tiny school district in Texas. And I never said much about that when I ran for office, because you know how Louisianians can be. But 3 of my 4 grandparents are from East Texas. Now I have 1 Cajun grandparent, and that's enough to get you to South Louisiana no matter what. But when I would walk around Pineland, Texas as a kid, and people would see my grandmother, they would stand up straighter. Hi, Mrs. Franks. How are you doing, Mrs. Franks? Can I get the door for you, Mrs. Franks? And the respect that they had for her meant so much to me. I was like, wow, my grandmother's a hero to all of these people. She truly was. She taught everybody in Pineland how to read. That's a hero. My grandfather was also recognized as a hero. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to know him, but when I was about 7, I think, the local town posthumously honored him for his contributions to the profession. One of the smartest things my grandmother ever did was take that plaque and put it right by her back door. So every time I walked outside, the back door, I was reminded that educators are heroes. There's a lot of messages in society right now that say otherwise. But if we go and remind our educators that they're heroes, we can get that number to 0 and we can get our children the people they need to be effective. I think standards are important. I think testing is important. I think curriculum is important. None of them are near as important as the teachers in the classroom. So I'm asking my fellow board members, and I'm asking all of you to help us get all of our students a teacher. Thank you so much.
Item 3.1, consideration of the recognition of Calcasieu Parish as a Models of Excellence recipient for 2023.
Is there a motion? Thank you. Mr. Castile, second by Ms. Boche. Superintendent?
Thank you. In advance of doing that, I want to acknowledge the new leadership of the board and looking forward to working with all of you over the next year to do amazing work for kids. I also want to acknowledge the outgoing leadership of the board for their contributions, and I know that we have worked over the last year to try and advance an agenda. I think we've made some great progress, so I just want to also acknowledge the outgoing leadership of the board for their contributions over the last year. At this time, we talk about assuring that every child in the state of Louisiana has access to a high-quality teacher. And I think that we all need to recognize that moving forward, sometimes that might have to look a little different, particularly whenever we're thinking about rural communities or when we're thinking about subject areas where there may not be an excess of teachers, or whenever we're thinking about opportunities for higher level courses that may not otherwise be offered in high schools. And so we have school systems across the state, of course, trying to fill this void. But we have an honor that we provide at the Department of Education, which is our highest honor, called the Model of Excellence Award. And this particular recognition is really, as I said, our highest honor that we give. But we try to find systems or schools throughout the state that are doing really innovative, great work. It doesn't mean that they have quote arrived, that they're there, that there still isn't work to be done. But it's an opportunity to highlight great work, affirm the work that they're doing, try to build a network around that work so other people can see that work and consider replication of that. And so this last month, we had the honor of traveling to Lake Charles and designating the Calcasieu Parish school system as our latest model of excellence. And so you might say, well, what are they doing over in Calcasieu? Well, number one, they've been extremely resilient after 2 major hurricanes that have gone through the area and have weathered that storm, so to speak. But they're also pushing forward in a clever new approach to ensuring that kids have access to high quality teachers. And it's called, I believe it's called the BIP, very important BIP program. And so this particular program allows students across the system in all their high schools to have access to teachers electronically. So what they do, there's some logistics behind this. So educators, I'm going to go in the weeds for just a moment, non-educators, just bear with me. So what they do is they establish at every high school across the parish a room where it is staffed with a support person and it has access to computers. And then, as a system, they standardize the structure of the classes across the entire parish. And so, for instance, if you're thinking about a chemistry course, well, there may not be enough chemistry teachers across the parish, but they know that they have an outstanding chemistry teacher, and so they say, at X time during the day, we're going to offer this chemistry teacher to the students across the parish. And so during that point of the day, students from across the parish go into the room at their high school, they don't leave their campus, and they have live interactive lessons with that particular teacher. And they're sitting there virtually with students from other schools in their particular parish. And so it's really an opportunity, I think, to do some really good things. Now, am I trying to say we should move to complete virtual instruction? Heck no. No, we believe in face-to-face instruction, but there are times where this model can be helpful. And I think there's a lot of hope and promise, particularly in our rural communities, for them to share across parishes and approaches just like this. And so I would ask at this point in time, and I'm going to ask the superintendent to give a few remarks, but we would like to recognize and ask leadership from the Calvary Parish School System to come forward. We've already had a ceremony at their site, but we will also honor them in front of everyone here today. So please come forward and accept our applause. Superintendent LaFleur, if you don't mind, I know that you want to share some of the accolades with your team members, but if you don't mind, introduce yourself, introduce your team, and tell us in the next 2 or 3 minutes a little bit about the program.
Sure. With me is Dr. Doug DeVilliers. He is the program coordinator. It's the virtual instruction program. And we call it the VIP program. Dr. DeVilliers, I would love for him to introduce his team right now in their specific job titles.
Good morning. We have Lorna Albers here, who is our VIP school counselor. And we also have Lexi Broussard, who is our technology teacher, also on the VIP team.
And Dr. Brumley from the Louisiana Department of Education, the BESE board, we were so excited that we were given this award, Models of Excellence. We did have an incredible celebration. We had a lot of fun. We had a great theme. We had a lot of people that showed up and really commit to our objectives and the mission that we have. We take your challenge, Ms. Bobby. We want a teacher in every single classroom. And we also know, though, that we can leverage our staff, we can leverage our facilities and the technology, and we can amplify and enhance the curriculum in ways that we've never been able to do before. We have crafted creatively and innovatively a structure in which we can service all kids, and that was the premise behind this. We're passionately pursuing all kids deserve a highly effective teacher no matter what. It's up to us to figure out how to do it. It's up to board members, legislators, the public. We got to figure out how to do it, whether it's through the pay raise, whether it's through innovative recruiting techniques or whatever we got to do. But at the end of the day, our task as superintendent and being in the district, we've got to figure out a way to deliver instruction to all of our kids, not just the kids in certain zip codes, but every single one of them. And that's what we were able to accomplish. We're very proud of it. The most prestigious award that they give, the Department of Education, and we are so honored to have it. And thank you for showing up, Mr. Morris, to that day. I hope you had a great time and enjoyed some jambalaya.
Mr. Castillo.
Mr. Superintendent, this is wonderful. Thank you for your inspiration and leadership. Can you tell us a little bit more about student engagement in the virtual environment? How does it work? Are students equally as engaged in the virtual space as they are in the in-person space?
It's unique because most people will categorize virtual instruction as not being beneficial, or not seeing academic achievement, or not seeing engagement. But I think it's very unfair because we are referencing COVID and what took place whenever March 13th hit and all of a sudden everybody had to go virtual. Well, we didn't have the necessary skill sets, and that's the key. You can have the technology, but you have to have the skill sets. Like Michael Fullen says, you know, a fool with a computer is a fool, and a fool with a supercomputer is a super fool. So you have to have the skill sets necessary to be able to deliver and engage those students. We identify teachers for certain courses, whether it's AP, hard staff content areas, or dual enrollment. And Dr. DeVilliers deserves so much credit, and Tammy Yeager in the high school department, so much credit for finding those individuals that can figuratively reach through that screen and interact with those kids. Now, we did everything we could to supply if you see our teachers, and Dr. Brumley and Mr. Morris was able to see it, you know, firsthand, it looks like they're in a cockpit. I mean, they've got every bell and whistle that you can give them. And then on the other end, we supply our students with an appropriate room and the perfect setting conducive to learning. They have their headsets, they have their instruction with their teacher. In one room, we might have 10 different students taking 8 different courses. So it is a unique presentation. If you ever have an opportunity to come down, we'd love to have you. But Dr. DeVilliers can tell you the key is the educator, no matter whether it's face-to-face or it's virtual. The other key, though, is virtual instruction is not for every student. So we have to be selective in the type of student that wants to take the ownership of their learning. If the student takes the ownership of their learning to coincide with the high skill set that we have in the delivery of the instruction, the medium doesn't matter, whether you're person to person or whether you're looking through a screen.
So for those instructors, are they compensated differently than those who are in person? We had a good conversation about compensation of teachers, I guess, today.
Sure, they follow our pay scale. They are compensated by our partner, the higher education institutions, as well as technical university, college. They compensate them with the dual enrollment courses. But they have a flexible environment. Dr. DeVilliers runs the PLC. So what's unique is if you go to their PLC and you think of a professional learning community at a school setting, they're talking about how instruction is delivered in a school setting. But when you go to their PLC, the professional learning community they're talking about how can we get better at delivering instruction through this medium and how can we engage the students better. We actually teach dance through virtual instruction. We're fixing to teach health and physical education through virtual instruction. We teach chemistry and our environmental science, dual enrollment environmental science, and our teacher actually has experiments that he conducts through virtual instruction. So we are getting better at blending our skills and developing our skill sets. And in so many ways, the kids, through this digital transition, they're like, well, it's about time. We've come to figure that out too. And again, we're not saying that face-to-face instruction is not the best. We're not saying that. But I think in all aspects of the educational arena that we live in, whether you're in higher education, elementary, middle, high, it just doesn't matter. There's a place for so many different things that we can do in ways that we can deliver instruction. We just have to be innovative, continuously creative, and we can meet the needs of all of our kids.
Ms. Orange-Jones.
Thank you. First of all, just thank you for all of your leadership and congratulations on the success so far. I think this is a really important example for not only our state, but the country. Dr. Gopi, you set out this really powerful charge about getting a great teacher from every child across our state. And I believe a really powerful recruitment plan starts with an even stronger retention plan, right? Of how do we actually keep our best teachers in the classroom growing and thriving. And there's a bunch of that that's about how do we onboard teachers effectively, but a lot of it is about how do we actually continue to invest in and grow our master teachers who have the mastery to be teaching and growing their leadership even more as teacher leaders. So my question to you is, what kind of feedback are you getting from these incredible teachers who are continuing to grow and expand their leadership in this way?
I can give you feedback from one of the teachers who stated this teacher has a master's degree in English and was in a role in which the teacher was just flatlined. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then this teacher, after this experience, and Dr. DeVilliers confirmed this, said, I have never felt more alive as a teacher than this year. And now that's coming from a classroom teacher who was then in a different role and then began this journey with us and then came alive again, learning new skill sets, but still getting back. Because when you watch them, they're teaching. And the students are engaged, and the way they're able to just flex from one screen to graphs, and then we purchased e-boards, what we call them, and to where they can write on the board, and then there's a camera on the other side, so when the student sees like they're writing on the board, they see it left to right instead of it being reversed. I mean, the technology that's out there is incredible. It's just a matter of mastering those skill sets to deliver it. So our goal is to continue to grow our teachers, and when we have those that we identify that can do this, and not every teacher can do this, but when they can, it is quite impressive.
And I just add, in relationship to that, the topic of teachers and the idea of really connecting with kids. We're in our first year, so all of our teachers that are on staff have been face-to-face teachers. So this is a new experience for them. And I know whenever I was interviewing for my staff, that was one of the questions that I had. What is one of your biggest concerns? And their biggest concern across the board was, how am I going to connect with teachers, or how am I going to connect with students whenever I'm on the other side of the screen? And I think what's really exciting is that's in the back of their mind. So as long as that stays in the back of their mind, I think they're very intentional. We do very intentional PLCs where how can we engage the students, because they are all over the district. And so having that in the forefront and really thinking through how do we engage kids in a virtual environment is something that we really try to do.
Well done.
Mr. Castillo?
Is there an opportunity for the teachers to actually meet the students at some point, or is
Yes.
it always virtual?
Dr. Villiers has arranged all kind of activities, field trips. We brought the students to Latrobe Boston Academy, and our teachers actually will go into the schools and meet them too.
Yeah, we actually had a job expo that Ms. Albers was sort of the coordinator of, and we brought all of those almost 400 students to our building, and we brought in community leaders, guest speakers. We basically had a conference for our students with breakout sessions where they could meet community leaders, but also really excited to meet their teachers as well. And that was just one example.
It was really neat to see that first experience though, when they did meet their teacher for the first time. It was like meeting a TV star. Oh my God, it's just...
I didn't know you were that tall.
Mr. Morris?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for sharing with us today. I was very impressed with my visit and enjoyed the celebration too, by the way. A couple thoughts. You mentioned engaging students. In my experience as a substitute teacher in my district, that's one of the major challenges I've seen is how do we engage students today. And one of the things I think about is, when we think about the student population, the poverty has impacted our society, in an incredible way. But when I think about that paradigm, and I think about the options that students have, the attendance issues that we have today, and students have the option to go to school or stay at home, and I think about the technology that's available in the 21st century, right? And if that technology is available in the schools and it's leveraged in the schools with examples like yours, it's got to be a better option for kids than to stay at home or to get out the streets and get in trouble somewhere. So for me, it's a tremendous draw, in that aspect, student engagement, provides them with opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise. So applaud you guys for the innovative approach. Also, we've had testimony before this board with regard to broadband expansion throughout the state. We're making significant progress there. And so that's going to create opportunities for some of our rural areas. I see Superintendent Gray is in attendance here from Bastrop High School today. Visited with them last month, and I see similar opportunities available there. And with my background as an engineer, I'm interested in leveraging some of the rural areas where we've got calculus and chemistry and some of those other really cool subjects available to students in those areas. So my question now to Superintendent Brumley is, how do we leverage this work and roll this model out to those rural areas so they understand the resources that are necessary, the technology that's necessary, the funding that's necessary, the scheduling and so forth, so that other students will have the same opportunity?
So for start, we're elevating them here today and in their own system, and we have done our best to celebrate this particular system for the work that they're doing. We have developed a simple one-pager on their approach. It's a really clean, clear document that I think is going to be helpful as we distribute that to other systems, just for their consideration, not as you need to do this, but so you can be aware of that. And then I hope hope Superintendent Lombardi and your team will accept our invite to be one of the presenters at the Teacher Leader Summit, so that we can have a session on this particular approach where we have 6,000 educators in the conference to be able to learn more about this. So those are some of the first things that we'll be doing.
Thank you. Accepted.
We've already submitted.
So you guys are making me so proud. Thank you for helping to figure out how to serve kids, and you're just making me so proud. What I'm going to ask you to do, I'm not going to ask you to give me an answer now, but I'll tell you, I asked Dr. Brumley about this already, and my question was, what's keeping the phenomenal teachers that Calcasieu has already identified and is already getting to the reach of other students in their district from reaching other kids, potentially students in rural Louisiana where you're not going to get a chemistry teacher to go or a physics teacher to go? So you don't have to answer me now, but what I'd like for you to do is think about what it would take. And I'm also going to push you on the compensation piece that my colleagues have asked about, is that if that means that you need to do an MOU with other school districts that would bring money into your district, if there's a way to compensate teachers at a higher level because they're reaching farther and they're meeting more needs, I'd love for you to consider that. So he told me all you need is an MOU. If you need somebody to draft it, I understand he's got some lawyers on staff too. So I encourage you, you've already been really creative and you've thought different. And I know your responsibility is to the children of Calcasieu. As a board, our responsibility is to the 700,000 plus children in the state, and we have some whose needs are not being met yet.
So if other questions?
Well, Ms. Orange-Jones would like to speak.
Just a quick response to that. Yes, and I think 100% agree. And there's also, I know you said you're in year one, right? There's a need to have space to learn, right? And I know that's a very fragile place to be when you're innovating, you're learning at a fast rate, and of course we have an expectation to scale, right? Which is sometimes at odds with your priorities to grow and learn, right? So I think there's how do you find the right balance and the right timing for when scaling matters and where we can benefit. And what are you guys prioritizing right now in your learning on this model that's going to enable us to scale even better at the right time, right? And I'm just curious if you've given that any thought. What are the big learning questions that you're grappling with as you try this in the first year? Because it's fragile, it's new.
We're just continuing to sharpen our skill sets. We're continuing to be innovative. We don't want to stop. We're not content with the model that we have. Our teachers, in fact, we're going national. They just got back from Nashville and presenting the BIP in a conference. And specific to your question, we've already had districts contact us about, in fact, in the fall, we had Beauregard Parish who had a unique situation where the psychology teacher had left and wanted to know if they could tap into our course. We said absolutely. So those situations and conditions are already out there. It's just a matter of the model being applied in another district and then opening your mind and embracing this as truly something that will benefit the kids. I'm going to give you 3 examples how this can flex in a district and other districts. We have 2 hard-to-staff schools with Algebra 2, so we have a highly effective teacher teaching both schools. We had a teacher at a very high-performing school go on maternity leave for a hard-to-staff content area. So that course, that class at that high-performing school just seamlessly tapped into our virtual instruction for 6 weeks. And then when the teacher returned, went back to their regular teacher. And you know as well as I do, nothing against long-term subs. We appreciate the fact that they are assisting us. Nothing against non-certified personnel who may be working towards certification. But when we can plug in that gap with a highly effective teacher, then those kids aren't getting left behind. And that's the inequity that we saw, and that's why we moved forward with this program. The other aspect is the rural areas, for the first time, have been able to take dual enrollment in AP courses. And to answer your question, or not answer your question, what would it take to get those teachers to go to the rural areas? That's very complex, it's complicated, but obviously compensation is important, maybe compensation above and beyond to go to those areas, which we're doing with market staff schools right now using our ESSER money. But districts have to really target all of the kids throughout the district to ensure that they all have the same opportunities, and that's what we feel like we're doing by simply, and look, the overhead for this program, it's not much. I mean, you can get flat panels now pretty cheap. Computers are, you know, like BESE's, you can get them anywhere. So we have available all across the state this opportunity. I think the most important thing is to embrace the fact that it's here. It's here and it can be done, and all of our kids can benefit. And not just our kids, but our teachers. Because we have 12 on staff right now, and I'm telling you, 5 probably wouldn't be in education if they didn't have this specific opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, and I'd like to thank the department for recognizing your great work. Sorry. We have a motion to receive. Members, do you have any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. What's our next item?
Your next item is 3.2. However, these individuals could not be present today, so we're going on to item 3.3. Consideration of the recognition of Louisiana National Board Certified Teachers.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Rock and Ms. Holloway. Is there a commentary, Superintendent?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. So we're always thrilled when our educators across the state work to further their own learnings. And we have a group of teachers in the audience today who have certainly done those things and have put in the additional time to get better at their craft. And so we appreciate their efforts. And so these are our national board certified teachers. And so at this time, I'd like to recognize someone who is very passionate about this work. Very passionate about this work. Dr. Dolores Cormier-Zinon to make a presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Norman. I appreciate it. Good morning to the board, morning, Madam Chairman, and Dr. Buffley, we embrace your commitment to ensuring every student has a caring, supportive, accomplished teacher in the classroom. As an MBCT yourself, we congratulate you and look forward to supporting you and the board's vision in providing excellence in education for all students. Dr. Norman, thank you for your words of wisdom and encouragement in supporting every child deserving an exceptional teacher in the classroom receiving high quality education and instruction. National Board Certified Teachers are the gold standard and certainly stand ready and willing to align in meeting this goal. You have at this point 1,957 teachers who have certified across the state. We are 43 shy of 2,000, and we are working towards that goal diligently. Today, as a side note, Calcasieu has 27 national board certified teachers. So, and then 60%, over 60% of your national board certified teachers sit in high performing schools, A and B schools. So that's just some data to share with you. Today we express our gratitude for the honor bestowed by you, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, to recognize these teachers, well, myself as well, National Board Certified Teacher, forget myself, to recognize this as we make the impact for student achievement in the classroom each and every day. We will hear words from our esteemed President and CEO, Peggy Williams.
While they're doing that, I'll say for the audience, I certified in national boards, I think it was in 2006 that I was certified. And of all the things I've done, I knew I would be, when I went to college, I knew I would be successful if I just kept showing up, right? You do the assignments, you get to class, you know that you're going to be successful. Now, the national board certification process is really interesting in that you don't know if you're going to make it, right? Like you don't know if you're going to make the mark. And so you pour your heart and soul in that process. I'll also say it was tremendous in terms of my own development as a teacher to push me to set goals for my students, reflect on practice, and go back. So just like the process that was presented to the department about plan, do, reflect, act, or whatever, that whole concept, that's what National Board forces people to do. So congratulations to those of you who have renewed or being recognized for the first time. It's an incredible achievement.
Madam Chairman, if I may, in addition to that, National Board has changed the qualifications now. You can begin as a new teacher.
Okay.
To begin the process. So how powerful would that be to begin a first-year teacher going through those 5 core propositions, training them, and then they finish the process in 3 years?
Well, and I'll let you know, as a principal, I have some future national boards picked out. So when you come visit me, I'll introduce you.
I'll see you next.
Hello, my name is Peggy Williams. I'm President and CEO of the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. On behalf of the National Board, congratulations to all the newly certified Louisiana MBCTs. What an incredible accomplishment. I know it's been an arduous few years of navigating online learning, returning to the classroom, and dealing with the countless tragedies inside of our school. Yet, while enduring all of these challenges, you still raise the bar of excellence by obtaining your National Board certification. Thank you for your dedication, perseverance, and commitment to accelerating the learning of all students. And thank you to the support system of mentors, administrators, networks, and champions that provided guidance, resources, and encouragement along the way. This isn't the end of your journey. Your National Board certification is a tool to leverage for systematic change. As a National Board certified teacher, you are a leader that can influence what happens in Louisiana's landscape. Over 60% of Louisiana MBCTs have helped transform schools into high-achieving learning centers while consistently promoting a culture of brilliance and equity. I encourage you to continue to inspire joy in learning for your students while expanding your impact beyond the classroom and into your communities. A key focus of the National Board's work has been to create intentional pathways to board certification. We have developed responsive candidate support and provided additional resources to assist with achievement. We are engaging policymakers to create and strengthen the conditions for teachers to achieve board certification. We are pursuing program building support and seeking salary incentives. But we need your help to continue this crucial work. I hope you will commit to spreading your instructional expertise, advocating for issues that affect you and your students, and partnering with local change makers to address challenges that will have a lasting impact. I look forward to partnering with you on this work. So congratulations again. You have definitely earned it.
And thank you, I think everything that Lisa said was said between the two of us. We would like to call up, we have a proclamation that declares this as Louisiana National Board Teacher, Certified Teacher Day. So we're all celebrating that. And we would like for the chairman and the superintendent, if you would come down to help us pin our newly certified teachers.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Benjamin LeGrand. I am a early childhood generalist. I certified in 2019. I'm actually going through my MOC renewal, so I will be celebrated, claiming it, next year. I will be getting pinned again. As National Board Certified Teacher Network Day in the state of Louisiana, we're going to honor those initial certified candidates. The first person is Christine Bornhorst. The next individual to be honored is Susie Kessler. Another early childhood generalist. Foundation. And our last person to be honored is, she's not here today, Rachel Becker. I'm here. Oh, she is? Oh. And so we have one more. But she's not here, actually. This person's not here. Maddie Hannon. She's actually in the Archdiocese of New Orleans. She cannot be here. You're watching virtually.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lauren Jewett. I am a national National Board Certified Teacher. I am an exceptional needs specialist. I am going to just explain real quickly. The National Board's maintenance of certification, that's called the MOC, has replaced the renewal process. It is a process to make sure that National Board teachers are continuing to grow in their profession and renew that commitment to their students and teaching. This year in Louisiana, we had 41 teachers during the cycle to maintain their certification. That certification is good for another 5 years. So at this time, if you have maintained your certification during the 2021 to 2022 school year, please stand up so we can acknowledge you. Stay standing. If you are an MBCT at any point during your career, please take a stand so we can honor you. Thank you so much, and it looks like if every National Board certified teacher found a teacher, then we would get to zero. So I feel like my work here is done. Thank you all so much. The key is for every new teacher we get, they're going to need mentoring, and National Board teachers, you have demonstrated your ability with your accomplishments, and my request to you is to pay it forward to help other people get to your level of accomplishment. So, board members, do you have any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. What's our next item?
If we could just go back to 3.2 and delete that item, I don't know if we should have formally deleted it. Can we get a motion in a second to delete?
A motion to delete. Thank you, Ms. Boche. Second by Mr. Mellorin. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. What's our next item?
Next item, consideration of the recognition of National Disabilities Awareness Month.
I need a motion. Thank you, Mr. Mellorin, and a second by Mr. Rock.
Thank you, Dr. Bofi. At this time, I'm going to introduce Meredith Jordan, who oversees our work with diverse learners, to make a few remarks.
Good morning, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here this morning and to sit alongside this young man here. I am Meredith Jordan. I lead our executive, our diverse learners team. And I'm here on behalf of our team to recognize National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. It also happens to be Cerebral Palsy Awareness. We will have Autism Awareness in April. There are many opportunities for us as a state to celebrate young men and women and individuals like Jason sitting next to me who have disabilities and who overcome and succeed in their journey. And so these awareness opportunities bring forward the rights of people with disabilities across our nation, helps us to realize their abilities, and to celebrate their successes and contributions to our communities and to our society. It's such a pleasure to be here and to have with us today Jade Lamel, who is a senior at Ocean High School in St. Landry Parish. His mom, Miss Phaedra Lamel. He's also joined by a cadre of distinguished leaders and educators who have been alongside him on his journey. Ms. Tiffany Etienne, his high school principal, is here with him. Ms. Lori Barron, Ms. Christine Bouillard, a couple of his educators who have led him across his journey. Also, Mr. Jonathan England, who is an educator and he calls him his mentor. We're also joined by a special guest, Ms. Bambi Polizzola, Ms. Alicia Valiant from the director of the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs and one of her staff members, whose office is also instrumental in working alongside us at the department and our disability community to ensure supports for these individuals and families. I am hoping that Superintendent Jenkins from St. Landry Parish gets a chance to join us. Also would be remiss if I didn't recognize Ms. Alvada Willis, the Special Education Director in St. Landry Parish. So I'm going to let Jaden tell you a little bit more about his story through his educational journey. But in case he doesn't brag on himself enough, because I have learned that he is very humble. He was recently selected as Student of the Year at his high school. He also serves on the St. Landry Parish local Special Education Advisory Council as a student and individual with a disability. We're extremely proud of him. He has a list of honors. We are extremely proud of him, the model that he sets for others who follow in his footsteps as individuals who can overcome barriers and who can achieve and change their next day. We're excited to see what his next steps bring him. He already has a plan laid out. His letters of recommendation from his teachers, those sitting behind him, including his elementary teachers, left me inspired and proud of those who see abilities in our students and who dedicate themselves to our profession and to ensuring that students like Jaden and his classmates and his fellow students meet success and change their day after high school and open opportunities and open doors for them. So I'm going to turn it over to Jaden to tell you a little bit about his educational journey.
Greetings to the greetings to members of the BESE board and honored guests and audience members. My name is Jaden Patrick Lamel. I'm a proud, hardworking honor student and a senior at Beauchamp High School. It's truly an honor and privilege to be recognized to the BESE board as a student with disabilities and for all my achievements that including being selected as Beauchamp's 2022-2023 Senior of the Year. To say that my grades based on my grades, having maintained above a 3.5 GPA throughout my high school educational journey was a breeze. That is a big understatement. It's a real big understatement. Although I am an honor student and have been since my freshman year, I am also dyslexic. This learning disability has not made my educational road easy. As a matter of fact, it has presented challenges and hurdles that I've never thought I would ever overcome. But through my hard work, dedication, accepting that I have to learn differently, and embracing what I have been dealt to me, I've conquered the challenges put before me and have accomplished so many great things, not only academically but also on a personal level. The engraving on my class ring explains everything. Based on my class ring that's facing towards my head, it basically says "flow like water," which is loosely a reference to always whatever challenges that you have, you always want to flow. You always want to flow like water over a stone. Throughout my 4 years of Beauchamp High School, I have been active, involved in several clubs: FFA, 4-H, and Beta. Having completed in all three throughout high school. Currently, I am chaplain of the National Beta, of our National Beta team, and I'm also the parliamentarian of our 4-H team, of our 4-H chapter. I will be competing in Lexington, Kentucky for Beta for placing first and second on the state level. I'm also a powerlifter for Beauchamp High, and that's the only sport I do at Beauchamp, and I love the sport to death. This is my 4th year competing and have qualified in state all 4 years. I am currently ranked 5th in the state in the 132 weight class in Division 4A, Division 2, and this sport is mostly a mind over matter. Like, I've seen people being like over 94 pounds lifting and deadlifting over 300, almost 500 pounds. Outside school, I am a martial artist. I do Taekwondo. I've been doing it for 10 years. I'm a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo. And I also am an assistant instructor in martial arts. And so basically with me doing martial arts, it actually helped me personally and mentally because I know how to react. And also it helps me to overcome things that I never thought I can overcome. And also it teaches discipline, self-control, and how to be respectful for all my peers and friends. And this also helps me help me get this enthusiastic and energetic person that I am and friendly. After I graduate from Louisiana High School, I'm planning to attend Universal Technical Institute to study to become an auto mechanic in Houston, Texas, and also in Morrisville, North Carolina for specializing in Mopar Tech and NASCAR. And I already have been accepted into the program, and I'll be leaving the state for this great state for a year and 3 months, and I will be coming back to serve In conclusion, I would like to think that I am a well-rounded student who has maintained my GPA and well-balanced all my extracurricular activities and community activities. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention I'm also part of a nonprofit organization that's in Leonville, Louisiana, the IFBS Lodge, which is the Inseparable Friends Benevolent Society. We help with our community. If somebody has any problems in our community, we tend to help out and host events at our lodge. And I never let my learning disability define or hide my outcomes. As a matter of fact, I think it has helped me learn to problem solve and achieve things I've seen impossible. I'd like to thank, hopefully they will stand up, my mom, Phaedra Lamel, my grandmother, Rose Gradney, my two elementary teachers, Miss Lori Barron and Miss Christina Buller. My high school algebra teacher and mentor, Mr. Jonathan Eaglin. And my principal that has been with me since pre-K, I don't know, since 2018. And also the ones that couldn't be here, my elementary principal, Dr. Morrison. These are the teachers that have helped me overcome everything that I had trouble with. And to be honest, for being a student in the 3rd grade, saying that I wouldn't be able to accomplish anything in my life, look at me now.
Hello everyone. I'm Andrew Polisillo, the Executive Director for the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs, and I just want to congratulate Jalen again from our office, and especially congratulate his mom. I've been knowing her for over a decade, and family involvement and high expectations I think is key to his success. I also wanted to just take a moment, since it's Disability Awareness Month, as we sit here right now. The funeral of Judy Heumann is happening at this time. Judy Heumann is the mother of the disability rights movement. 504, individuals with education, the individual with Disabilities Education Act. All of those things were, happened because of her advocacy. Please look up Judy Heumann, do your research. She was a legend and we stand on her shoulders. Also, I just want to take this moment to recognize my former colleague, April Dunn. Many of you know the April Dunn Act. April Dunn was a person. She was a person who shared an office with me until 2020. She was a person who sat in this room and advocated for people with disabilities like her and asked this body, which many of you might have not been a member at this time, but to listen to the voices of self-advocates and to their families. And as I look across this room, I see Dr. Davis on one end, Dr. Roche on the other end, who I both know. Both of them have experience with people with disabilities and expertise. But I know that even both of them would say that they are not experts, that they will concede to the needs and listen to the families and to the students with disabilities, as well as the evidence-based practices that shows that students with disabilities can succeed and will succeed if we invest and believe in them. And so I encourage all of you, if you did not know April Dunn, Google her. You need to know who she was. And lastly, I'm very sad to bring this news, and I know it'll be a shock to many of you, but Lynette Fontenot passed away yesterday. Lynette Fontenot was someone who was very well known in the education community. You may know Lynette Fontenot because she used an assistive technology device to communicate. She's from Basile. She's 53 years old. She was the chairperson of the Governor's Advisory Council on Disability Affairs for the past 7 years. And she was the chairperson for many years for the Developmental Disability Council. She passed away unexpectedly. But Lynette, in every arena that she went into, I think people walked away realizing that they should raise expectations. Lynette had cerebral palsy. She could not use words as I'm using now to speak. But once technology caught up with her, because of the education she got in that rural school in Basile, she was able to express how intelligent she was. She went on to get a degree at LSUE. She married her husband, who was a doctor, and she was a very accomplished artist. And so I say all this to say, you guys don't have to be the experts on disabilities. Look at evidence-based practices. Look to the families. Look to the teachers who educate them. Look to the students themselves and listen to them. Don't set up expectations or requirements sometimes as a one-size-fits-all. While we want to have high expectations, we also want to look at what the evidence is on how those students can achieve. And they absolutely can.
In Houston, Texas, 18, I think it's like
Ms. Holloway?
Thank you. Sandy, I see you walking out. I just want to recognize you for your great work. Thank you so much, because when I first came on BESE is when I first met you, and this, of course, is 8 years ago. That's my second term, and very impressive. And I recall the day of April Dunn's Act, and that was just a momentous time, and created some great opportunities for our special needs. And also with Lynette as serving on the special ed committee, the task force as chair. Now, Dr. Davis has taken on that. And remember Lynette, and so impressive. And I just can't tell you how appreciative I am of you and all the great work you've done, along with all people in the state, people who are here, and to hear Jaden. Where did oh, there you are. Ooh, can't wait to hear much more about you. And you're giving hope to children, to my grandchildren that struggle like you, and have that challenge, but yet you overcome with the flow of the river, the waters, and the bayous. And let me just tell you something about Arnaville. That's some of my roots there, my family, and you just touched my heart. And thank you for your inspiration. We appreciate you and love you for what you're doing. Can't wait to hear more about you. Thank you, educators, for supporting them.
Board members, do you have any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. What's our next item?
Next item is approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Rock and Mr. Malloran. Do you have any comments? Do you have any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. What's our next item?
Next item, approval of the minutes from January 18, 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. And a second by Dr. Davis. Any objections or comments? Hearing no objection, pass this. What's our next item?
Next item is report by the State Superintendent of Education.
Dr. Brunley, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Briefly, I wanted to express my appreciation for Mr. Christopher Frazier and the Baton Rouge High School Orchestra. You may have experienced them on your way into the Playboy Building this morning. They just did a fantastic job, and so I wanted to recognize them for being here to start the day off on a happy note, and just get us off and going. So thank you for their work and what they have contributed to today's meeting. I want to let the board know that we announced our Louisiana Student of the Year finalists last week. We announced those 24 amazing students, 5th, 8th, and 12th grader from all of the 8 Louisiana BESE districts. And so those individuals will continue on in that particular competition. They're again, amazing, incredible representations of our student population. And the actual winners will be announced April 19th here in Baton Rouge. I want to let the board know that registration is currently underway for our annual Teacher Leader Summit and our second annual Early Childhood Conference. So we're going to do our Early Childhood Conference again this year. One of the changes is we're going to pair these two events back to back because we'll be there in New Orleans at the Convention Center, and it will just be, from a logistical standpoint, it will be an easier process if we can have one of those conferences for K-12 and then turn right around while our staff is already there to go ahead and hold the Early Childhood Conference. So that will run May 30th to June 2nd. We anticipate thousands of educators across the state being there from our non-public schools, our traditional public, and our public charters. So it will help us spread the word, and we can continue to get you information to help us with that. Sessions there will focus on best practices and department priorities. Last year we held our first ever statewide safety summit for schools. We brought in almost 1,000 individuals from across the state who were educators, mental health professionals, law enforcement, emergency care responders. And so we're planning to do that again this year. That will be June 15th here in Baton Rouge at the Raising Cane's River Center, June 15th, and we anticipate, solid participation. Again, this is our foremost responsibility. I want to thank the BESE members who attended the Comeback Campus visits. We held 41 face-to-face Comeback Campus visits over the last few months. These were campuses where from 2019 to 2022, through the pandemic and storms, they reduced their rates of students going to the unsatisfactory level in reading and math, and also increased the number of percentage of students going to that mastery or above level in reading and math. If they had high school component of that campus, they also lifted their ACT score. So it was great to acknowledge these schools for having higher performance in 22 than 2019, and I know it went a long way for those schools for you to be there and for you to join us. So that's coming to a close. Finally, I just want to thank the board for passing forward what I believe to be a very helpful MFP plan yesterday. It recognizes some of the inflation and operational expenses that schools experience. It gives them across the board $2,000 pay raise to teachers, $1,000 for support staff, but it does something that we've never been able to really do before, and that's introduce this differentiated compensation approach where local system leaders and governing boards have the ability to target those resources directly toward needs. And to Dr. Bogey's point, I think it's going to be super helpful in driving down those vacancy numbers if those funds are used creatively in school systems. So that's not a bad deal. That still has to work its way through a legislative process, but I'm really proud of this board for that action yesterday, and I thank this board for that action yesterday because I think it's good policy. So that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's our next item? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, just briefly, Superintendent Brown, you and I had a brief conversation yesterday. I just want to share with the board. There's a lot of conversation nationally and globally now with regard to artificial intelligence and how that's being used both academically and professionally. ChatGPT is getting a lot of chatter. There's been a couple of announcements at LSU regarding to applications there. There are some districts throughout the country that have basically outlawed, if you will, that application in academics. So I'm interested in how the state of Louisiana is going to address that issue academically. And I'm also interested in those applications. I think we're going to see a new career pathway here in how those applications are developed. And so I know that personally I've seen fifth graders use the tool and engage with artificial intelligence. So I'm curious to how it's going to play out with workforce development. And so interested to hear from you and potentially get some consideration to an agenda item for our joint meeting with Board of Regents so that the two boards could so have some good conversation about this and what this looks like going forward for the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, so this is this is a new world for all of us, around this chat and artificial intelligence, and I don't think we can run from it. We have to embrace technology and what that does in our world, but at the same time, there are legitimate concerns around how can this be implemented appropriately, where we can ensure that our students still have the ability to write and construct passages, and what does that even mean? What does it mean to write and construct passages as we move forward into next generation technology? And so, I do intend to have some additional conversations with some leaders in the space, some of my colleagues in other states over the next month, and hopefully we'll be in a better position to provide some information moving forward. But it's exciting, but it's also a little uncomfortable for us as well that we have to work our way through. We certainly want to ensure student safety through it as well. There are a lot of unanswered questions at this point. I think it's a good conversation for us to have moving forward.
Are there any other members that have comments or questions? Okay, what's our next item?
Next item is the report from board members on their statutory and legislative task force council appointments.
Mr. Rock?
Madam President, this is not really a report. This year, for the first time in Louisiana, the Catholic Diocese across the state, the Archdiocese of New Orleans and the other 6 of us have Student of the Year competition. And on April the 20th, I think it is, we will announce the winner. That'll be a 5th grader, 8th grade, 12th grade. And I'd like to request in June to present those winners at the best board meeting.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Ms. Boche?
With the work of the dual enrollment task force, which we've been at this now for over 2 years, there has been a great deal of progression on having our colleges and universities develop programs and coursework around certifying K-12 teachers in order to be adjunct professors in order to teach these courses on the campuses. And as most of you know, the criteria, they need a master's degree plus 18 content graduate hours in their content area. So RFPs have gone out with that, and we're hoping to get some quality programs from our four-year universities, which will then be able to train more of our K-12 teachers. You look at the, you heard what Calcasieu was doing, I know some of the rest of us are doing some similar initiatives with that, and the more teachers that we can certify, the better the program will advance. Another thing that we've been looking at as well as a common pricing structure, because as we all have been talking about, the cost of dual enrollment courses has tripled at the local community colleges over the past year. And in the 23-24 school year, those costs, which will be full tuition, are supposed to be implemented as per a directive from LCTCS board. So I was in a meeting the other day with Monty Sullivan and his people in talking about how to lower some of those costs to get a more common pricing structure. And then thirdly, which I'm hoping that we are tacking on with the letter to the legislature that's going with the MFP recommendations. There was supposed to be a $25 million ask that was going to be funneled through the Board of Regents budgets for the increase in dual enrollment for this year. And it didn't quite get labeled as such in the executive budget that the governor put forward, but we're still working on that. And we also need legislative support for putting that $25 million into that allocation that will hopefully flow through the Board of Regents for this year. So we definitely need that support from our community today.
Thank you, Ms. Boche, and that was included in Mr. Castile's motion yesterday. Mr. Morris?
I have a question. I had 2 items to report. I've had a question for Superintendent Boche on her comments. Do we know what to attribute the factor 3 in cost to?
What local districts for years have had MOUs primarily with community colleges and some four-year institutions in a lower rate for dual enrollment classes. It might have been for a class, say a 3-hour class, might have been $100. Or then we settled on maybe $50 a credit hour to increase it to $150. Because of their operating costs, their expenses, their financial problems, they have now instituted to go into effect in the 23-24 school year, full tuition plus the fees. A 3-hour course, say in my area, which has been an early adopter, could have gone anywhere from $150 up to over $600, depending upon the course. It was a little close to $500 for a 3-hour course, but if it is a CTE course with the additional supplies and equipment needed, is in excess of that. So in my own particular district, it's 3 times the amount this year. And that is being felt across the state. So with this board looking at, even in the accountability program, the increase in dual enrollment courses, what we're pushing for our students, both in the general ed section, which are primarily the transfer credits, and the CTE courses. This is hindering the school district's ability to enroll these kids in the courses. If the school district will be paying in an equitable way that full cost for those students. If some districts are charging the families a portion of the cost, but in the poorer school districts or the school districts that serve more economically disadvantaged students, that's not an option. For example, in mine, if we are not able to pay that full cost, my kids won't have access to it. So if this is one of the major initiatives of this board, which it is, then we have got to push for that additional funding or come to an agreement with both four-year colleges and the community colleges in a much reduced cost.
I'm just wondering, based on your comments, with regard to the content of Mr. Castillo's letter, currently there's no value, no numeric value associated with the reference to dual enrollment funds. Should we give some consideration to that, maybe be a little more specific to give them at least a ballpark of what kind of number would be helpful or just be significant?
That we would like recognized in the budget. And this is coming from the dual enrollment task force, which is chaired by Dr. Tim Hunter at Board of Regents.
Just for clarification, in my motion of yesterday, I did reference the dual enrollment additional funding, and I've confirmed with the superintendent that he'll specify the language that is associated with the reference.
Right. And really, I'd like to put it on there. There is money that is going to the different regions. And my understanding is, and I'd like the reference in our letters, not just to say if more money is recognized by the Revenue Estimating Conference, that it be its own bullet which says we are requesting from the general appropriations budget this year for the Board of Regents an additional $25 million for dual enrollment.
Dr. Goldie, I did have a couple of updates to share.
Okay, go ahead.
February 28th, the Special School District Board met and unanimously approved the contract for Dr. David Martin, his new role as Special School District Superintendent. So his duties will commence May 1st as a 3-year contract. My other update is from the Law STEM Advisory Council. A couple highlights here from Dr. Clint Coleman, who chairs that group. Really excited to share that all 9 regional STEM centers will be used for another 3-year cycle. So all of those STEM centers have been in place now for 3 years. So we're starting that second cycle. So we've got some demonstrated progress there with some sustainment. So that's really important for the STEM efforts in the state. Also want to share that, put it on your calendar, October 17th will be the 2023, the date for the 2023 Law STEM Annual Summit. And it will be held at the Cajun Dome and Convention Center in Lafayette. And then lastly, the program is also getting some national recognition. Dr. Coleman presented Scaling STEM Statewide with Rural Nation at the Department of Defense STEM Conference in Washington, D.C. on February 24th. Thank you.
Ms. Holloway?
Thank you. I'd like to report on a couple of commissions, task force that I'm on. One is a newly developed commission, and it's called the America 250 Louisiana State Commission. And what this is to celebrate America's 250th birthday, which will be in 2026. We met once last month, and it was just an initial onset of the commission, and we're meeting again March 21st. And we've got a couple of years to start planning for a celebration in Louisiana and for the remainder of all America. So it's going to be exciting. I'll keep you posted. The other task force is the Teacher Recruitment, Recovery, and Retention Task Force. And we really had a robust meeting, and Kelly supported that. She does very well. And I want you to know these are items that we spoke about. Associate's degree pathway, which was something you recommended to the task force to review and share. the compensation study preliminary findings, education evaluation, and of course, the certification appeals council. So this task force has really dug into these questions, these concerns, or new highlights that we are really excited about. So I don't know if we need any more information, but I'm assuming everybody's getting minutes in. Everybody, I'm not quite sure. I'm not looking at the right person. No, I'm just looking at the wrong person. She's not, okay. But minutes would be very beneficial.
Thank you, Ms. Holloway.
Absolutely.
Board members, are there any others? So I'll flag for you that Mr. Castile, Mr. Morris, and I are talking about moving our retreat date up. So we have August set for a retreat date. That can be kind of difficult for those of us who are going back to school. And so we also think there might be some work that's beneficial for us to do beforehand. We will be in touch with you about that, board members, before we finalize it. So I just wanted to flag it for you. We may go down to just our regular 2 days in August and have a retreat a little sooner in the year this year.
Are you
Yes.
talking in terms of what, July or something? Or when are you thinking?
I promise I'll be in touch with you about it. Yeah. I have, I'm going to share with each of you an individual who has some information coming out about effective school boards and how effective school boards can work. And I'll share a little bit with each of you and then see what kind of dates we can make happen. So I don't know if it's something that we're financially be able to do, but looking at it, it seems like there has been some work in the country with some state boards and some local boards that I think could be really beneficial, especially as so many of us will be stepping down from the board and will help to establish and set up the next board for success right away. So that's certainly the intent, but we'll be in touch with you about it. Okay.
And
Ms.
also
Davis?
reminding the board that we have our meeting on April 5th for the legislative report, legislative.
And that's in additional to our April meeting. So flag April 5th, make sure you've got April 5th to be with us, and we'll be talking about all the pending legislation to be introduced this session. Okay.
Time is 9, I guess, 9 or 10, something like that.
Okay. All right, Ms. Davis, what's next?
Next, we have Academic Goals and Instructional Improvement Committee, Mr. Mellering.
On behalf of the Academic Goals and Instructional Improvement Committee, I move to approve motions 1 through 13 and 15 through 18, noting that motion 13 was a notice of intent and pulling motion 14.
That's 11 through 13 are notices of intent.
Oh,
Excuse me, Mr. Mellering.
All right, is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Rock.
So if we could dispense of 1 through 13 and 15 through 18, we can pull.
Are there any objections to dispensing of those?
Second. Can we get a second?
We did, Mr. Rock.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry,
Mr. Mellerin moved and Mr. Rock seconded. Are there any objections to dispensing of the items that haven't been pulled? Hearing none, motion passes, and then we have the pulled item.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would be behind tab 8.1, motion 14. Ms. Holloway requested that we pull this motion. On motion of Mr. Rock, seconded by Mr. Garvey, the Academic Goals and Instructional Improvement Committee recommends that the board approve as notice of intent revisions to Bulletin 741, Louisiana Handbook for School Administrators, Section 1103, compulsory attendance, and 1105, types of absences.
Thank you. Is there someone, Ms. Holloway?
I'm asking that, motion to defer.
Okay, is there a second? Ms. Ellis? All right, any objection to deferring? Hearing none, motion passes. What's our next item?
Next item is 8.2, Administration and Finance Committee. Ms. Holloway.
On behalf of the Administration and Finance Committee, I move to approve motions 1 through 23.
Okay, Mr. Rock seconds it. So we have a motion by Ms. Holloway, a second by Mr. Rock. I need to be recused on motion 14. Ms. Boche, do you have some recusals? Same. All right, any other recusals? Thank you. And then we have a comment card from Mr. Fred Carr. He's a concerned citizen from Union Parish. Mr. Carr, you can come up to the table to speak.
while he's coming up, we also have a comment card supporting the recommendation and not wishing to speak. Mr. Brian Davis from LIB supporting the MFP resolution.
Okay, now?
Yes, sir. Hold the mic close to you. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. First of all, good morning. Thankful for being here. Appreciate this opportunity to speak. I'm a native of Union Parish, and I'm here with some other team members concerning not only administrative finance there in the parish, but the general overall health from an academic standpoint in our school district. We're not where we should be, not where we want to be. We also recognize, let me say this, I am not an education professional, I'm not a teacher, but I certainly recognize and appreciate what educators do and teachers. I know I can still remember all of my teachers, so I appreciate the hard work. We are concerned about finance and the way that is managed there in our school district. Not only that, but the number of 70% finance going into the classroom for instruction. We're not sure that that has actually happened. We also acknowledge that many of these issues and concerns we have first must be addressed at the local level, and we have worked with our local leaders there to find some type of resolution to address these concerns. That still has not happened. I do not realize totally what your powers are in terms of being able to help us in that district get to where we need to get to. But we are here reaching out for help. I've been inspired this morning, and I've also got confirmation this morning, because when I look at some of the successes that has taken place in other school districts, it only lets me know that we were right when we said that it can happen in our school district. We realize that it's not one size fits all. We've seen an example of that. We all learn different. And that's the one thing that we want to see happen in our school district in Union Parish. Our school, our elementary school, for example, is a health school. Yeah. We're not happy about that. And we're not an organization that's pointing fingers, placing blame, but we're here to partner. And those are the kind of conversations we've had with our local school district. We have many issues. I hear conversations today talking about teacher shortage, but I also hear about the successes and the innovations that other school districts have taken to get around that and still be successful. So my conversation today, or my reason for being here today, is that we need help. And whatever you can do, we want it. Include me with you, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Thank you for caring about the children in your district and making the long drive here to let us know that.
That's right.
Yes, Dr. Davis.
I'd just like to say how much I appreciate you and your fellow community members taking the effort to come here to BESE to talk about the concerns you have for your district. And I was just wondering if the department might be able to let these community members know what's the process that the department goes through with the school district when they fail to meet the 70% of their MFP being spent on instruction in the classroom. And then secondly, I wonder if someone can tell me whether or not the Union School District has gone through the kind of alignment that we heard about yesterday that the department offers school districts to try to see where their budget is aligning with their priorities.
Yeah, I'd ask Beth to come to the table just to talk about any knowledge you may have relative to that. 70%, as we've talked about many times before, it just indicates that they have to do that. There's not any form of consequence behind it. And so that question is raised every year at this time on this particular issue.
educators on an annual basis. And the definition of that means that as we define instruction, that 70% of the general fund dollars, which is a partnership between the MFP and the local dollars, that goes to education. When a district fails that requirement, we have a technical assistance plan where we work with them, and they are to, as required by the resolution, we are required to look at their budget and see what is causing that failure. It can be some bad coding in the accounting system if they're like a little off, or it can be that they really are not taking the time to rearrange their budget. We offer assistance and ideas, partnering with other districts who may have implemented contracts for services, non-instructional type services, to try to help them save some money and push that money over into the instructional side. And we do that on an annual basis with those that fail, and we report back to you this year. It will be in June. You'll receive a report on what we have discovered from the districts that actually did not meet that requirement.
Thank you. And Dr. Davis, on your second question, I'll have to check to see if they're part of that, one of those cohorts. I'm not sure.
They are you talking about the cohorts? Yeah, that were listed as in the 70%. I'm sorry.
No, I'm referencing the strong schools.
Thank you. Board members, anything else on this item?
Yes, I just want to say thank you to the concerned community members from Union Parish for coming today. I know that 3.5-hour drive is big, and it's a huge commitment. And I think that, you know, as a board, it's challenging to give advice on how to handle these local issues, and that was one of the conversations that we had. And so I would like to ask the department to partner, or for me to get some information to give them, to partner with someone here at the department for how to move forward with some of their questions or concerns, specifically about the continued failing school district that they have concerns about. This is a very rural area. We have a handful of charters and public schools in this area. The charters are succeeding well, and this public school has struggled, this district. And so, I know there's great people there, great students who want to have the access to opportunity just like everyone else. And so we appreciate you coming down. We'll see if we can find you resources to at least give you point in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, members, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any objection? Yes, Ms. Orange-Jones.
Thank you for that. Just a connection to our conversation yesterday when we had the great presentation around the UIR schools and the school, strategy we have more broadly. So can you just connect the dots between that presentation and what was shared today?
In the same manner that I do not know if Union per se has gone through our strong school system initiative, our strategic planning. I don't know the level of their commitment to the turnaround process that we have. I don't know if there's a system that is signed on the MOUs for our support. But again, happy to review that. Keep in mind that the team that's led by Ms. Morgan that presented yesterday, the system has to sign alongside us and say this is the MOU between us and the things that happen on both sides. And so we want to work with those who are willing to work with us. And I'm unsure if the union is part of that commitment, but I'm happy to check.
Can you check it out?
Thank you.
All right, members, any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. What's our next item?
Next item, Educator Effectiveness Committee, Ms. Ellis.
On behalf of the Educator Effectiveness Committee, I move to approve motions 1 through 13.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Ms. Orange-Jones. Are there any questions or comments? Any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. What's our next item?
Next item, School Innovation and Turnaround Committee, Mr. Castile.
Thank you. On behalf of the School Innovation and Turnaround Committee, I move to approve motions 1 through 2.
We need a second. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Do you have any questions? Do you have any objection? Hearing none, motion passes. I believe that concludes our agenda. This meeting is adjourned.